Everyone, and welcome to the investment meeting for February 2023. Please, let's go around the room and make your name noted for the record.
Stephanie Zenberg, representing Commissioner Sewell.
Allison Hirsch, representing Controller Brad Lander.
John Dorso, alternate designee for Controller Brad Lander.
Steve Meyer, I'm an invited participant.
Shuman Ray, representing Finance Commissioner Nygaard.
Kevin Liu, representing Mayor Adams.
Joe Alejandro, PBA.
Rob Appling, Wilshire, by invitation of the trustees.
Armando Acosta Axia, at invitation of the trustees.
Nicole Jambrisi, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation of the fund.
Anthony Bradley, SBA.
Jeffrey Ward, DEA.
Johnny Ramirez, CEA, with the proxy of the LBA.
Andy Vincent Miller, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Bob Sanskisted, Pension Fund, present by invitation. Kevin Holleran, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Stanley Thomas, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Ying Williams, Jeff Stern, present by invitation. Fishing Nicole LaBam, present by invitation. Claire Barbarino, Sam, present by invitation.
Okay, John?
Okay, and I'll just note for the record that there's additional staff of the Controller's Office and the Bureau of Asset Management that are joining us remotely, and they will make themselves, they will identify themselves if they speak.
Maybe we want to,
And
the actuary.
I'm sorry, Kevin, Chris McGrath, PBA, by invitation
yes.
remotely.
Okay, thank you, Chris. The actuary?
Yeah, Tom O'Hara from the Actuary's Office.
Okay, Law Department? Okay, John, sorry.
Okay, so, and again, any members joining remotely, whether they be from the Bureau of Asset Management or any of the consultants, will identify themselves at the time that they speak. So we have no formal agenda for public session, except we did circulate for the board to review a request to commence an asset allocation study. This is a little bit different than all the resolutions we've done in the past. In this iteration, the strategic asset allocation, we're actually requesting that the board have BAM, their consultant, which is their general consultant, Wilshire, but also any of their specialty consultants also involved in the processing of the asset allocation. As you'll recall, those of you who've been around before, it's been exclusively with BAM and the general consultants. However, with the expansion of the basket clause and the possibility of additional alternative investments, it is more prudent at this time that we make sure we include all of the specialty consultants in the asset allocation and do this a little more expanded than we have done in the past. So it's been circulated to everyone. It's in convene. If there are any questions, Steve is obviously here to answer them from an investment standpoint. You know, Allison's here if you have questions about how it's going to work within, within BAM and the boards. Any of those questions.
Do you want to do that in public, or we prefer to do it in executive?
We've done it in public at one other fund, and that's the only other fund we brought it to. We'll be bringing it to the others. So I think it's appropriate that we commence the study within public, and then all of those deliberations would happen, as appropriate.
So in keeping with some of the discussion at the STAR committee, doing the asset allocation review, you want to add all the other asset classes, not just the general consultants information?
Correct.
But the other asset classes, are they all here or not? They're not all represented?
They're not all here, but
they may be on Zoom.
Yeah, we will certainly let them know that they'll be asked.
This is what will be different than prior studies.
Yes, in the past, we've always just had the general consultants advise us along with BAM. In this iteration, because of the growth, quite frankly, of the alternative asset classes, we think it's more prudent at this time to make sure that that conversation includes all parties that are representing us and working in our best interest. And they're all fiduciaries to the fund, so we think that that's the appropriate way.
And this will also coincide with the fact that the basket clause has been changed. Did that take effect immediately? I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so given the fact that it's changed the dynamic of the portfolios, we may need to review that. You're all comfortable with that, right?
Yeah,
reviewing it.
I think the increase in the basket clause is a big win, and just, I think it's a prudent time to review asset allocation regardless of the basket clause, given the change in interest rates, inflation, and these kinds of things. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Not to get into the weeds, but I don't want to speak for a different consultant, but it is in Wilshire's scope of services to help with the asset allocation studies. I don't know if that's technically in Axia's, scope of services to review the asset
Axia,
allocation.
Stepstone.
Yeah, so
and
I think
also
we would, I think we would
Yeah.
expect that the same way that pacing plans are done in conjunction with everyone around the room, that when it comes to the market, assumptions, if their assumptions are quite different than Wilshire's, we need to take that into account. It shouldn't be in a vacuum. I think that's really the crux of getting to making sure that everybody's included in this discussion. We have pacing plans that all go off of the asset allocation. I think we want to make sure that there is buy-in from all of our providers, and that's kind of the rationale of having everybody.
Okay, just to mention, so my expectation is, for Wilshire, will just be an additional source of insight into those specific asset classes. I still think the general consultants are going to be the point people with the trustees and with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just to have
I was just being nitpicky,
No, good question.
Completely understand and happy to collaborate with, we've done that in the past before. Last time we increased private equity, we talked to the asset class heads and the consultants and said, based on pacing, is this even reasonable to do this over the next couple of years? So happy to collaborate. I'm just purely from a nitpicky fiduciary lens, who's responsible for the advice? That was my only point.
Yeah, and I think we would rely chiefly on the general consultant for the overall portfolio, but we recognize that we have a unique plan here.
Can I Joe said something that I just want to make sure is clear for the record, which is the basket clause, increase in the basket clause went into effect immediately, but that does nothing to immediately change the structure of our portfolios, right? Because we have this stats governed by our asset allocation.
And that increase may change or color our view as to what asset classes we want to adjust.
Right.
And I think it's key, and as a matter of prudent practice, you would want to do this every few years anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But now with the basket clause being changed, it definitely gives room to work. Now, the only other thing that I would like to bring up is we've been talking about hiring an OFI consultant and how this may play out to have space for OFI, that once we do hire, if we do hire someone, that we'll need to create a portfolio for them to operate within so that they can get investments going. So that's another thing to be cognizant of when we're doing this asset allocation review.
So, Joe, we have some discussion of a deeper dive with the annual plans that'll be coming at a different portion of the meeting. So I think we can have that conversation when it naturally fits into the rest of the agenda.
No, absolutely.
So
I'm just bringing it up because it's a matter that this is a public session.
Yes.
It helps the public understand that the thinking is not just about there's a basket clause. We have to operate within the parameters of the basket clause, get our portfolio, and make sure that we have a portfolio that would fit going into the future and provide the necessary returns that we're looking for. And so we're in a whole new area here, and we need to do this to properly perform our duties here at the table. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
I think we're in agreement. So with that, I'll make a motion. If there's a second.
Second, TBA will second that.
And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, fantastic. So, we look forward to having a brisk conversation about that at the board, and we will, obviously, all of those decisions on implementation will come before the board, and the board will have the final say over everything that we see. Just putting that in the record, Joe, because I know you want to make sure everybody knows that.
Absolutely.
All right, so with that, I'd like to make a motion that we exit the public session, enter the executive session to discuss.
TBA seconds that.
Okay.
Who's reporting out?
The recording's on.
Recording is on?
Yes.
Okay, during the executive session, the trustees heard from their consultants, BAM, and several managers regarding private equity, alternative credit, and infrastructure. The trustees also considered annual plans for infrastructure, private equity, real estate, and alternative credit. Decisions were made. Those decisions will be made public at the appropriate time.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All right, and the recording is off?
Yeah.